All right, let's dive into a story about a car, a handshake, and a contract that went sideways. It's a fantastic real-world legal puzzle that gets to the heart of a tricky question. What really happens when what someone says clashes with what's written in black and white?
Have you ever been there? You shake hands on something, you feel good about it, but then later you get that sinking feeling when you realize what you got wasn't what you were promised. That's exactly where our story kicks off today, and it forces us to ask, when a deal goes sour, what does the law actually do to protect you? Okay, so let's set the stage. Our story starts with what seems like a totally normal, friendly transaction, just a simple car sale.
So meet Dawn. She's just found the car she's been looking for, a Volkswagen, and she's pretty excited to close the deal.
And she's buying it from Emma, the seller. Now, during their chat, Emma says something really important. She tells Dawn, oh yeah, it's a 1997 model. And for Dawn, that specific year is a big part of why she wants to buy it.
So, they put together a simple contract, they both sign on the dotted line. But here's the first major twist. The written agreement, it covers the price, the model, but it says absolutely nothing about the year. It's just not in there.
And you guessed it, not long after driving off, Dawn makes a pretty frustrating discovery. The car isn't a 1997 model at all, it's from 1995. Now, 2 years might not sound like a huge deal, but when it comes to a car's value, it definitely is.
Think about it. Dawn paid the price for a 97 model based on what Emma told her, but the car she actually got, being a 95, is worth quite a bit less. So right away, there's a clear gap. She's overpaid.
And that gap has a price tag. It's $500. So now we're at the core of the problem. Dawn is out of pocket because of something that was said but wasn't written down. So, what can she possibly do about it?
This is where Dawn runs smack into a big legal wall. It's a rule that at first glance seems to protect the written document over everything else, and honestly, it looks like really bad news for her. It's called the parole evidence rule. Now, parole is just a fancy old word for spoken. The whole idea, sometimes called the four corners rule, is that a court will look only within the four corners of the written page. They assume if something was important, you would have put it in writing. Any verbal promises made before, poof, they're usually ignored. So this leads to the $1 million, or I guess the $500 question. Does this rule mean Emma's promise about the car being a 97 is legally worthless? Is Dawn just out of luck because that one detail wasn't written down? It kind of seems that way.
But not so fast. You know, in the world of law, for almost every giant, scary rule, there's a sneaky little exception. And this is where things get really interesting for Dawn.
Let's go back to that contract one more time. The most important thing wasn't what it said, but what it didn't say. Remember, it was completely silent about the car's age. And that little omission, that's about to become Dawn's secret weapon.
And here is the loophole. There's a legal precedent that says if a written document looks incomplete, well, maybe it is incomplete. A court can decide that the real deal was actually part written and part verbal. Because the car's age was missing, Dawn has a great argument that the written page wasn't the whole story, and Emma's promise was meant to be a part of the deal all along.
So the verbal statement is in. We got it past the big wall, but we're not done yet. Now the court has a new job to figure out how important that promise really was. Was it a total deal breaker, or was it more of a price changer?
You see, in contract law, terms have different weights. A condition is so essential it's a true deal breaker. If it's broken, you can walk away from the whole thing and sue. But a warranty is less critical. It's more of a price changer. If a warranty is broken, you can't cancel the deal, but you can sue for your financial losses. Dawn's entire outcome depends on which one this is.
So you can basically see the court's checklist here. First, was the statement even part of the deal? Thanks to our loophole, we got a yes on that. Now we're on step 2. What kind of term was it? And that answer is going to lead us straight to the finish line. Step 3, the solution. So to figure this out, the court uses what's called the test of essentiality, which is really just a formal way of asking one simple common sense question. Was the promise of a 97 model so absolutely critical that without it, Dawn would have just walked away from the deal entirely?
Now, let's be realistic. She probably still wanted the Volkswagen. So the 2-year difference likely wasn't a complete deal breaker. But would she have paid the same price for it? No way! She would have negotiated it down for sure. And that, well, that points us strongly in one direction.
So after all these legal twists and turns, after jumping through all those hoops, where does this whole thing leave Dawn?
let's get to the final verdict. The court would classify Emma's statement as a warranty. Yes, it was an important part of the deal that influenced the price, but it wasn't so fundamental that it would kill the whole contract. It was a price changer, not a deal breaker.
And what does that actually mean for Dawn in the real world? Well, it means she has to keep the car. She can't just unwind the deal and get a full refund. But, and this is the most important part, she is absolutely entitled to be compensated for the financial damage she suffered.
And that takes us right back to where we started. The amount she's owed is the difference between what she paid and what the car was actually worth. Dawn can sue Emma and get that $500 back.
So this whole tale of two Volkswagens shows us that while a handshake is nice and a verbal promise feels good, that written contract is your strongest shield. It really leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? After hearing all this, what's the one detail you'll make absolutely sure is inside the four corners of your next agreement?